Aloha everybody, and welcome to the Wild Wahine. This is Kaylani, and this is your astro forecast for this week, which is September 27th through October the 3rd. So we have some interesting things that are going to be happening with our relationships and our communication, and them not necessarily being in alignment with each other. Relationships in terms of how we're relating to other people, our partnerships, our friendships, our coworkers, our love relationships, our intimate relationships, and communication, because we're still in this Mercury retrograde phase, which we're going to be feeling and going through really all the way until November in terms of how many times Mercury and Pluto and Mercury and Jupiter will be touching each other. We're revisiting things and we're trying to communicate something, but our heart isn't necessarily saying what it is. And there's like a lot of hidden information of what's really going on in our relationships and what's the truth and what is hidden. And let's just uncover it and let's just get to it and be done with it. You know, at this point, I just want to know what's going on because there's a lot of shadowy type stuff that's happening, and we can kind of sort of see that with this first transit with Venus trining Neptune, which it's perfecting on the 29th. We're going to be feeling this all the way until October the 1st. Venus is in Scorpio, Neptune is in Pisces. Neptune is retrograde right now, like so many planets. I believe we have 6 planets retrograde right now. We've been kind of living in retrograde energy anyway, and then everything's going to station and shift forward this month, so we're just going to be kind of prepared for that. And then we go into the fall where things get a little gnarly when Venus is retrograde. Saturn, Uranus, Mars activation is happening, which is going to be much more intense when the sun is in the sign of Scorpio. But before we go there, we have October to deal with and all of the energy that's coming up around that. So with Venus and Scorpio trining Neptune, there is this imaginative space that we are in. Which can be really lovely. It's a trine, so this is a positive thing. This can be really good feelings, gatherings, coming together, you know, being in an emotional space, feeling like you want to experiment with spirituality, desiring to be by the beach or be by a body of water and have some sort of transformation with the water. It can be being cleansed with ocean water. It can be a spa situation. You know, there's so many ways that water cleanses us and water transforms us and really takes us into the liminal space, which is what we're going to be feeling, you know, with this particular transit. So it could really feel like we're winning or that we're imagining things. Sometimes this is the space where we're able to manifest things. If you've been thinking about wanting to change something or do something, this is a great time to really lean into what that would be. If you're the type of person that manifests from imagination first, where you have to kind of feel it, you have to imagine it, you have to kind of feel it in your body, and then you're able to articulate it and go put it out into the world. Really good time for that. Some of the challenges though that can come with that, whenever we're having Neptune in play in any kind of transit, there's always this obscurity. We get caught up or lost into the mix of things. It can be like a tsunami type of tide of water that's coming towards us that we just feel, you know, fully absorbed in. We don't know what's right. We don't know what's not right. The Neptune is very much like, for example, The Matrix. The new movie's coming out. I'm really excited about it. What's real, what's not real, does it matter? For some people it does. For some people they want to be plugged back in because they don't want to deal with the reality. Like, how are you feeling about dealing with the reality of things that are going on in your life? Do you want to like bury your head in the sand or get plugged back into the Matrix? Or are you going to red pill it and say, no, I want to see what's going on and I want to just accept my reality for how it is and let's go do this? You know, with Venus and Scorpio, there's a lot of that. Like, I'm going to live in the reality of how things are, even though if they might be gnarly, because it's far better and it's more beautiful and it's more real to have the connection of knowing what's actually going on than hiding. Venus is also squaring Jupiter on the 30th. It will perfect. We're going to be feeling this on the 27th all the way to October the 2nd. So with Venus squaring Jupiter, which is going to be kind of the opposite of what Mercury's doing when it's trining Jupiter. So with Venus square to Jupiter, Venus and Jupiter both are our benefic planets, right? They're the ones that bring us good things, good feelings, good loves, gifts, money, just good times, gatherings, fun with our friends. It really has this kind of amusement park type of feel to it. It's the fun house. It's just it's celebrations. It's like, you know, for me, I love Halloween. So it's like everybody coming together for Halloween. We used to have these amazing Halloween parties and all the dress up and all the food and all the sugar and all the everything. And then, you know, there was also this sense of like having to dress up, having to decorate the home, having to decorate everybody else, and the trick-or-treating and all the food and the candy. And I made everything. And it was these amazing parties, but I was like wiped out. I don't even know if I enjoyed them half the time. I mean, I did, but then there was always so much work and cleanup that had to be done afterwards. And it was just the overwhelming sense of, wow, this is so much fun. And we had such a great time. fine, but like my house is wrecked and where's my dog? And you know, like I am on such a sugar high right now. I don't know what to do. Did I even eat food or did I just have desserts, you know? So it can be the overwhelming aspect of something that's actually really beautiful and really nice. And that's kind of sort of what this situation is with this Venus square. All of the good things, the things that are fun that just kind of run amok. Out of control situation that was supposed to be fun, but it just went like out of control. Now that's a comedy, right? So that works, but you know, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's a little gnarly. It is a square, so we can just have excessive amounts of materialism, overspending to the max, extravagance, and then also just like sometimes when we buy things, like if we buy a big, huge dog. I remember there was these people when I lived in New York, they had a Great Dane, and it's like everybody lives in apartments in New York. You know, they had a nice apartment, but it was a Great Dane. It was like, what? That's like Scooby-Doo in your tiny New York apartment. And they were just like, you had no idea it was gonna get this big, and I'm like, really? It's a Great Dane, you know? So that kind of thing that happens where you like are so excited to have this thing and then it just ends up being a lot more responsibility than you thought. This whole like motif of Spider-Man with great power, great responsibility. Biggie Smalls says, more money, more problems, right? It's just the more you have, the more you have to deal with, and kind of figuring out how you're going to do that in terms of your relationships, in terms of how you're communicating, in terms of art, in terms of career type, creative type stuff. Like how are you dealing with the bounty that you have, and is it overwhelming at times, and what you're doing with that overwhelm. And also could be like a false sense of happiness, like, you know, I have all of these things, everything's supposed to be great, like, yeah, we're great, everything's great, and it's not really great. But everything has to be like zen and beautiful and wonderful, and it's like literally falling apart, but you're like, no, it's great, it's wonderful, I'm so connected to spirit, you know, all that kind of stuff, and you're just like, nah, you're literally falling apart. Like that's that kind of sort of energy. You just want to take some time, you know, obviously, and just kind of roll it back if it's gotten too big, if it's gotten like way overwhelming, if it's like way too much. Like what can you do? What are some of the things that you can put in place that will help check that? Organization is key. That's when Mercury stuff is going to come in, but we'll talk about that in a second. Next up, Venus is also making another transit. It's aspecting Pluto. It's a sextile to Pluto. This is happening on the 2nd. We're going to feel this on the 29th all the way to October the 3rd. So that's like, you know, towards the end of the week. So positive things that could come from this, like, so this is a sextile to Pluto, and Pluto a lot of times is talking about places where we feel empowered, or places where power is taken away from us. Secrets and truths that are coming out. Again, remember, Mercury is making a square to Pluto exactly at this time. So there's something about like our relationship way that we're negotiating things, the things that our heart wants, the things that our sensual self wants, but then the communication about these things is going to be a bit ass backwards. So, you know, you may feel this week very pulled or pushed and pulled in a lot of different ways, where there's a natural inclination or a natural way that you want to move towards something, but then the communication and all the details gets kind of sort of falling apart and broken down, and it's like backward, and what was supposed to be something really great or connected ends up being something that's just a mess and much more frustrating and difficult to kind of negotiate. So this is all normal stuff because that's how things are when they're retrograde, but just to kind of give you the heads up. So Pluto is retrograde as well. Positive things that can come from this, because it is a sextile, so we're looking at more positive things happening, transformational love, passion that can come from that. You know, Venus is in Scorpio. It definitely is trying to do Venusian things, even though it's in its detriment because it's in Mars's sign. Scorpio is Mars's sign. So it wants to come together and do all of these things, but there's this kind of like big energy of like I, and Venusian is we, or us. And so how we're trying to negotiate that a lot of times manifests itself into truth and healing, especially with this sextile to Pluto, because things are hidden sometimes, things are underground. Pluto is all about like what's subterranean, what's under the earth, what's percolating, you know, under the earth. We can't even see it on the surface, but it's the magma is moving underground, and then, you know, at times it erupts because it just needs to kind of release that energy, release that tension. That's kind of what we're talking about. So it can be really good for like sensual healing, being attracted to things that are kind of taboo or weird, or like hidden loves that are coming up. I mean, it could definitely be side relationships that people don't know about coming to the surface because they want to be the relationship in the forward. Secrets that you have, secrets that are buried that are coming up, trying to bury secrets, trying to hide things, people in power negotiating all of that on the macro level and even on, you know, our individual level. So attraction to the shadow side can also be gnarly, but it also can be like, you know, just being honest with what you want and how you desire it. And then, you know, but then the articulation of that is going to be a little crazy because of the retrograde. But, you know, at least you kind of know where you're standing with that. Some of the negative things that can come with this, whenever we have these kind of Venus-Pluto things, that it can be very challenging for relationships, very challenging for women in relationships. Be careful of things like violence and possessiveness and jealousy. All of those things can come up. Those, a lot of times, are emotions that are hidden. People won't always be like, hey, by the way, I'm really jealous, you know, or like, I'm really possessive. Sometimes they are. And when people tell you that, like, listen and get out. Really, because like you don't need that. And also just, you know, having these power struggles and having these power dynamics that are difficult in relationships. And what are people using as weapons? Are you using sensuality or sexuality or intimacy as are we weaponizing that? Or how is that being weaponized towards us? Is withdrawing or pushing someone to be more intimate? All of those kind of dynamics can be really gnarly, especially when our communication is like that was a sound effect. Especially like when Mars too is in its detriment in Libra, so it doesn't even have like, you know, energetically, we're not kind of feeling like feeling ourselves like we will when Mars goes into Scorpio in its home sign. We're gonna be like, yes, you know, but right now it's like second guessing, like, should I do this or should I not do that? You know, what should I do? How am I gonna negotiate these things? You know, like, so our energy levels are a little bit lower. They're like, our energy is a little bit more Venusian. It's not like really wanting to kind of sort of like activate. So that can be challenging. So with all of those things going on and all of those things that we have happening, we also have Mercury retrograding back, making this square to Pluto, which is perfecting on the 1st. And then we also have Mercury's trine to Jupiter, which is on the 3rd. This is the second time it's hitting these 2 points, Mercury is. The first time is when Mercury was direct. This time, Mercury's retrograde. Jupiter is retrograding. Pluto is also retrograding. So we're going to be hitting these points each time. We'll have another time we're hitting it, and we'll discuss that when that week comes up, like later on this month and also in the beginning of November. So really look back at what was going on in terms of communication, what was happening, and decisions that were made. So many of those are going to be pulled back, like, oh, actually, like yeah, let's pull the trigger and let's go. And then suddenly you got like a pause, like, actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to pivot and we're going to do something else. And you're like, okay. And then you'll probably find out that the pivot and doing something else didn't work. And it's like, okay, actually, we're going to go forward again. That's okay. That's pretty normal with a Mercury retrograde. So just know that that's coming up. I just think it's really interesting how it's juxtaposed a bit with what's going on with us in a Venusian way in terms of our relationships and how we're like relating to each other. So we're relating to each other on this kind of like non-verbal way that's moving forward, but like our verbal stuff is very discombobulated. So just know that, you know, some of the signatures that we talked about last week, which was just, you know, communicating, writing, you know, trying with this square to Pluto, it's just going to be difficult. It really just feels like, how can we move forward if we don't know the truth and we don't know what's going on? There's a certain level of investigation that has to happen, like with all of these things. It's somewhere in your life, you know, depending upon where this is hitting you. And also, I have on the beach vlog, all of the houses where Mercury is going to be activated. I did a little like horoscope, so make sure to check that out to see where this Mercury energy is hitting you for this entire retrograde period. It's on my YouTube channel. So wherever that is, where this information is a bit discombobulated, just know that that is going to be affecting what's happening with you, with what Venus is going on in terms of your like partnership, relationship type of things in a relational way. With the square to Pluto, there's information, there's things that you don't see, there's things that need to be seen, things that need to be spoken before they can be moved forward, and things that need to be weighed because we're in Libra, you know, and so Mercury is in Libra, so it is weighing information, it is sifting through information. Mars is in Libra, so we're not taking action on the information until we know what's going on. So this is very much just, I just feel like this, like I said, this is this month. We're just weighing things. We're figuring things out. We're trying to see how to move forward. Don't worry, we will move forward. That's happening, but we're still kind of like just sussing out the situation. With Mercury trining Jupiter, same thing. Once we kind of have a little bit more of a clear vision of how things are, we can start to move forward. We can start to angle our topics forward. We can start to angle what we say forward, especially in the macro too. I think there's going to be a lot of like, you know, oh, we just found out this information. Now we have to decide what we're going to do about it. Now, once we decided what we're going to do about it, we're going to now move forward and activate on it. But oh, wait, hold on. We have more information. Actually, let's hold that back. And then, you know, we can see that with Miss Rona. And so I would say for everybody, like, instead of thinking about obsessing about sticking the landing right now, or like launching out like a firecracker, remember it's retrograde. What we're doing is we're cleaning up. We're Marie Kondoing our life. We're just looking at all the things that need to be done. We're refocusing. We're working on projects that we already have been working on. We understand that we're in a little bit of a limbo state. We're we're flowing with this, we're measuring things, we're doing all of those things, we're assessing, we're watching and waiting and all of that, which I know can be so painful for so many of you who love to just go out there and do it. But we will have that time, but this right now, this is the energy of the time. So just do that, and then I think it'll be a lot less frustrating and a lot less flustering for a lot of you. So I hope this has been really helpful. I know the energy's like all over the place. Thank you again for joining. Make sure that, you know, if you see this on YouTube, that you subscribe and all of that. If you're watching this from Instagram, go over to my YouTube channel and sub, and also follow me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Clubhouse on Wednesdays. We have a brand new Clubhouse that's going to be a lot of fun on Thursdays, and we're going to be talking about herbalism and astroherbalism and medicine and magic. So you can find out all of that information on my website or on the links below and all of that. Thank you so much for joining. I just want to thank everybody that supports. It means a lot, and I'm really happy to be able to come and share all of this information with you. So have a wonderful week, and I will see you for the beach live. Bye.